Mike Johnson is protecting child sex traffickers because he's working for a president who's protecting child sex traffickers. This is what he said last week.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
There were so many lies in that little 15, 20 seconds that Mike Johnson just said. He said he's not calling it a hoax. It's weird because I heard him calling it a hoax.
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends, but it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
Because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. So we had the greatest 6 months, 7 months in the history of the presidency, and the Democrats don't know what to do, so they keep bringing up that stuff. No, this is a Democratic hoax to try and get the significance of what we've done over the past 7 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
In fact, I heard him calling it a hoax while survivors of Epstein were outside talking about how it's not a hoax.
President Donald J. Trump, I am a registered Republican, not that that matters because this is not political. However, I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax. We are real human beings. This is real trauma. These women are real. We're here in person. To say that it's a hoax is just not... Please humanize us. There is no hoax. The abuse was real.
But Mike Johnson said, I talked to the president. I talked to him. He just told me he thinks it's despicable. It's horrible. In fact, he was an FBI informant. That was like lie number 4 in the first 5 seconds. He was an FBI informant. You know, that is until people said, what? And then the Washington Post then had to instead report this. Mike Johnson had to pull back on that assertion that Donald Trump was an FBI informant on the Epstein files. Quote, the speaker is reiterating what the victim's attorney said, which is that Donald Trump, who kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, was the only one more than a decade ago willing to help prosecutors expose Epstein for being a disgusting child predator. That's what that statement from Johnson's office then said in response after people realized that, Mike Johnson is a liar. Here's more from that article. So during that event outside where the survivors were getting threatened and also intimidated by Donald Trump's flyover, Brad Edwards, an attorney who represents many of the victims, told reporters that Trump has done an about-face on Epstein since 2009. Did Mike Johnson talk about that? Edwards said that when he spoke to Trump in 2009, Trump was friendly to the victim's plight and did not think that it was a hoax and was trying to help. I guess that was the informant part. And now it seems like all of a sudden somebody's in his ear and he's not, is what Edwards said. So I'm hoping he'll come back to where he was back in 2009, be on the side of victims and stand with us. That's somehow they think is the reason why Mike Johnson said that. Mike Johnson was just on a roll of lying because, he's a liar. But when they quoted Brad Edwards, the attorney that was talking about how horrible this was, and at one point Donald Trump used to be on the side of trying to help us, just like he was on the side of trying to expose these files, that is before then he was trying to cover up those files. What changed is the last question that's never asked. Here's more. The White House on Sunday insisted in a statement that Trump has always been committed to justice and transparency for the victims, please. Here's more quotes from them. That's why the Trump administration is releasing thousands of pages of documents and complying with oversight requests. That's what the White House spokesperson said. Jackson, who's that spokesperson, alleged that Democrats ignored Epstein's victims for years and are now only interested in them as a way to attack President Trump. Conversely, now Donald Trump was interested in exposing the Epstein situation. That is, until he did an about face, and he's not interested in that anymore. I mean, if you can say one way, I think we can say the other, considering the reasons why those people that you said were not interested in it before are now interested in it. That means there was people that were interested in it before that are no longer interested in it. And we can ask the question, why? Here's Thomas Massie responding to Mike Johnson's lies.
He also suggested at one point this week, seemed to suggest that President Trump was an informant to the FBI about Jeffrey Epstein. Your reaction?
Well, they haven't been misled, and the speaker's point that the victim's safety is compromised or privacy is false, because when we asked the survivors at our event, did they support the legislation that Ro Khanna and I have introduced, they all said yes. Now, I don't know if the speaker misspoke when he said that Donald Trump was an informant. The lawyers for the victim said that Donald Trump had been helpful in 2009 in their case by giving them information. But being an informant implies some formal connection and ongoing relationship with the FBI. I don't know what that's all about. I think the speaker needs to clarify that. And if it's a hoax, why was Donald Trump an informant to a hoax?
It's almost like none of it makes any sense. Just to ask the simple questions based off of the lies that they just told. These are simple, elementary, 6-year-old lies that are being told. By the way, I hate the wording that they use for Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson is a liar. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is a liar. Why does Thomas Massie have to say? I mean, I guess it seems he misspoke. Maybe he's trying to be cute or to give him some kind of leeway to continue to hang himself. But he just seems he misspoke. But George Stephanopoulos asked him in the question beforehand. It seems like he kind of corrected himself. He said, it seems like, Johnson, may have insinuated or said or pointed out or suggested that Donald Trump was an FBI informant. He said he was an informant. He didn't suggest, he didn't insinuate, he didn't blink twice. He said he was an informant. Why don't we say what the lie is? He already said the lie. You can repeat it. Mike Johnson lied and said Donald Trump was an FBI informant because they continue to get cornered on how he's covering up the Epstein file release. They've even talked about how they want to release grand jury evidence, which actually means nothing for finding out more about this. Instead, let's be nice to the liars. Why?